Good morning, Cambridge class. So, over this week, we have looked at our personalities and our class's personality. Okay, so today we are going to look again at personality, but we're going to again focus more on ourselves. Okay, but instead of telling me, you're going to focus on your appearance as well as your personality in order to write a description. Okay, so have a read of this description. What do you picture in your mind? So the sentence is, the children sat around the fire. Have a think for a few moments. What is the image that you see in your mind? Okay, so the image that I see is something a little bit like this, that the children are sat inside in a bit of a log cabin with a wood burning stove and they are sat next to it. Okay, now I can imagine that your image in your head would be a lot different from the image in my head. Okay, so let's have a think about why that is. If we go back to our sentence, the children sat around the fire. What have we been told in this sentence? So we've been told that there are children, that they are sitting, and that there's a fire. Okay? We've not been told where they are. We've not been told what time of day it is. So all of our images in our heads will probably be fairly different, okay? Because we only know that there's children there and they're sitting around the fire. We don't know how many children, okay? We don't know if it's a bonfire. We don't know if it's a fire inside a house. We don't know if it's maybe, I don't know, an accident that's happened and something set on fire. We just know that the children are there and that they're sitting around a fire. Okay, so it's not very descriptive, which is why we all have different images in our heads. So in order to make it more descriptive, we need to add something to it. We need to add adjectives, we need to add powerful verbs to make the reader see what we see in our heads. Okay, so let's have a look at this one then. So this one is talking about the same kind of thing, but it just gives more description and more information. So, stars twinkled overhead in the midnight sky. The only sounds that punctuated the night were the crackling and spitting of the flames in the campfire. A gentle, cool breeze drifted across the forest landscape, kissing the faces of the mesmerized children. The smell of marshmallows toasting over the flickering fire wound their way up the children's noses. Flames stood tall and proud, their sparks illuminating the dark, creating dancing shadows on the children's eager faces. All present were completely silent, as still as marble statues. They sat, watching, waiting for the tales of old to begin. Okay, so this time I picture the children sitting in a forest. Okay, so there'd be trees there. They'd probably sat in a clearing in that forest, maybe on some logs. I pictured it at night with lots of stars in the sky. I pictured them sitting in a circle around the campfire, all with marshmallows in their hands, put over the fire. Um, I pictured the flames of the fire being quite high, um, and that the faces of the children would be illuminated in this fire, but otherwise they'd be quite shadowy. Um, and I pictured them all sat there because they were eager. They might have like a smile on the face, or they might have an inquisitive look on the face. And then I pictured that they would be sat watching somebody else, maybe an adult, for the tales to begin. Okay, so this time we've got more information. We're told where the children are. They're in a forest. We've told what time of day it is. It's night time because it's the midnight sky. We've been told what type of fire it is, so it's a campfire. Okay, we've been told what the children were doing whilst they were sat there, so they were toasting marshmallows. Okay, we've been told this here where it says that there are sparks illuminating the dark, creating dancing shadows on the children's eager faces. That bit to me tells me that the children's faces aren't always in the light, but that there's a bit of a shadow over the children's faces, but then they are illuminated by the firelight. So do you see how there's more description there? So, how could I make this drawing more accurate to match the description? So what could I have done? If this was my drawing, how could I have drawn it better to match the description? Have a think for a few moments. Okay, so I could have drawn more children around the campfire. I could have drawn them with smiles or looks of curiousness on their faces. I've missed out the bit here with the midnight stars, midnight sky. What else have I missed? Let's have a look back on the description. So I've done the marshmallows. The children are sat. I've said that I needed to improve the looks of the faces. I've said that I've missed the twinkles, stars twinkling overhead. I think I maybe needed to add more children there, okay, because I've only got 2. He's not got any marshmallows, so he looks a bit sad. So maybe I could give him some marshmallows and make him look a bit happier. I think the fire's quite good because it's a campfire and the flames are quite high. Maybe I could have drawn the actual leaves of the trees as well, not just the tree trunks. So there's many ways that I could have made this drawing more accurate to match the description. Okay, so the more accurate the description and the more descriptive it is, the better your drawing will be. Okay, and the more similar your drawing will be, or your image in your head will be to mine. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so as we've said then, adding more description gives the reader a more accurate image in their minds of what you want them to picture. So in the first sentence, our pictures will have been completely different, but in the second picture, our images in our heads would have been fairly similar. Okay, because there's more description, which means there's more information, so then our minds can work better with that more information. So let's have a look then at what made this more descriptive. The stars twinkled overhead in the midnight sky. The only sounds that punctuated the night were the crackling and spitting of the flames in the campfire. A gentle, cool breeze drifted across the forest landscape, kissing the faces of the mesmerized children. The smell of marshmallows toasting over the flickering fire wound their way up the children's noses. Flames stood tall and proud, their sparks illuminating the dark, creating dancing shadows on the children's eager faces. All present were completely silent, as still as marble statues. They sat, watching, waiting for the tales of old to begin. Okay, so here we have added more powerful verbs and adjectives. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to identify those powerful verbs and adjectives that have helped us to create that fantastic picture in our minds. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause the video and either write down or just think of in your head the adjectives and the verbs that you think helped you to create that fantastic picture in your head. Pause the video now and see if you can do that, please. Okay, so let's identify the verbs first. Okay, so the powerful verbs, so we've got twinkled. Stars twinkled overhead. It gives you an image of how they are moving, doesn't it? The only sounds that punctuated. That's quite a powerful verb because it says that it suggests that it's silent all around, and the only sound that you can hear is the crackling and spitting of the flames in the campfire. So again, we've got crackling and spitting, okay, which are kind of onomatopoeia, aren't they? So they are telling us how the fire is moving, so what sounds it's making. A gentle, cool breeze drifted, so that shows how it's moving. It's not harsh, is it? It's quite gentle, okay? If something drifts, it moves quite slowly, quite gently, quite calmly. So it shows that the atmosphere here is quite calm. Across the forest landscape, kissing the faces of the mesmerised children. So kissing the faces, okay? So that again shows gentleness, doesn't it? It shows calmness. And the smell of marshmallows toasting over the flickering fire wound their way up the children's noses. So if they wind their way, Again, it's not harsh, is it? It's again quite a calm atmosphere. And they're just like creeping up the children's noses. So flames stood tall and proud. Okay. So if they're standing tall and proud, that suggests that they're quite large, doesn't it? It suggests that they're quite still. Their sparks illuminating the dark. Okay, creating dancing shadows on the children's eager faces. All present were completely silent, as still as marble statues. They sat, watching, waiting for the tales of old to begin. Okay, so there are powerful verbs. Let's have a look now for our powerful adjectives. So remember, an adjective is a describing word. So, stars twinkled overhead in the midnight sky. Now, we could have used midnight here as an adjective, okay, to show what kind of sky it is. The only sounds that punctuated the night were the crackling and spitting of flames in the campfire, okay? A gentle and cool breeze drifted across the forest landscape, kissing the faces of the mesmerised children. Okay, so this is all describing the atmosphere, isn't it? So it's a gentle and cool atmosphere. The children are mesmerised. Okay, so they're quite entertained, they're quite eager. The smell of marshmallows toasting over the flickering fire. So flickering tells us how the fire is acting, doesn't it? So it's not a fierce, ferocious fire, is it? It's just quite a calm fire. So the smell of marshmallows toasting over the flickering fire wound their way up the children's noses. Flames stood tall and proud. So tall and proud are both adjectives. Okay. So to say that it stood proud shows that it's quite the centre of attention, doesn't it? Their sparks illuminating the dark, creating dancing shadows on the children's eager faces. So the children were eager, weren't they? Okay. So all present were completely silent, as still as marble statues. They sat, watching, waiting for the tales of old to begin. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of powerful verbs and adjectives in there, which have helped to create that image in our heads. Okay, so can you now have a go at writing a description about something of your choice? So it could be as simple as the kitchen table. It doesn't have to be your face or your personality. It can be anything. It could be somebody else in the class. It could be something from your house. It could be something from one of your walks. So, for example, if you've walked past a river, you might want to describe the river. So then when we return in September, we will see how well you have used powerful verbs and adjectives to describe your thing, because we will be asking somebody else to draw it from your description. Okay? So you need to make sure that you say, give us every little bit of detail. So if you're describing a river, how wide is the river? Does it stay the same width? Does it get narrower? How is the water moving in the river? What's the either side of the river? Is there a bridge to walk across it? Tell me everything in your description, okay? Try and refrain from using adjectives like big and small, okay? Can you think of more powerful alternatives for these? Maybe a bit more accurate. So instead of small, you might say minute, okay, which means it's very, very, very small. Instead of big, you might say colossal, okay, which, for example, I don't know if you're describing Big Ben would be colossal, okay, because it's really big, okay? Have a go at that for me, please. And then if you would like to, you could take a picture of it and email it to me. But please bring them with you in September. Good luck, Cambridge class. I'll speak to you again soon.